Okay, let's just jump right in. You see that name on your screen, Gayfemboy, and you're probably thinking, what on earth is this about? A new meme? Some internet subculture? Well, not exactly. It's actually the name of a really sophisticated piece of malware that's spanning the entire globe. And its story? Well, it's the key to understanding a 50-year war that's been happening inside our computers.
So today, we're going to take a journey. We're going all the way from the very first computer worm to the complex, automated botnets we're fighting right now. We'll see how a simple little experiment evolved into a full-blown criminal enterprise and even a weapon of war. Now, to really get a grip on just how much malware has evolved, we're not going to start at the beginning. No, we're starting right here, right now, with one of the strangest and most advanced threats out there today. Yep, that's its name, Gayfemboy. It's a botnet, which is basically a network of infected devices all under one person's control. It's a descendant of the infamous Malware botnet, and it goes after the Internet of Things. You know, all those little smart gadgets in our lives. Routers, cameras, anything connected to the web. It basically turns them into a giant zombie army. And here is where it gets really clever. See, most security software is on the lookout for obvious clues, like file names that match a computer's architecture, MIPS or ARM. It's kind of like looking for a getaway car with a license plate that literally says robber. But Gayfemboy, it uses these totally random, non-standard names. It's a simple little trick, but it's super effective at helping it hide from those automated security sweeps. It's built to be invisible. And believe it or not, it gets even weirder. To control its zombie army, the botnet has to phone home to its command and control servers. And the domain names Gayfemboy uses are, well, they're pretty unconventional. We're talking iskissboys.com and furryfemboys.top. You see, this isn't just code. It's reflecting a very specific, very modern internet subculture that's been wrapped around a really serious threat. So you have this bizarre, highly technical piece of malware that's active right now. But a threat this sophisticated doesn't just appear out of thin air. It's the end result of a 50-year-long story. And to really understand how we got from a simple experiment to this, we have to rewind the clock, way, way back. Let's go back. Back to a time before you even had a computer in your house, before the internet was the internet, to see the birth of the very first digital game of cat and mouse. The year is 1971. What we call the internet today was just a tiny experimental government network called ARPANET. It connected just a handful of massive mainframe computers at universities and labs. And it was in this little digital sandbox that the world's first self-replicating program was born. It was called Creeper. And here's the thing, it wasn't malicious at all. It was created out of pure scientific curiosity by a guy named Bob Thomas. He just wanted to see if a program could actually move across the network by itself. It didn't even copy itself. It would just hop from one machine to another, deleting itself from the one it just left. And this is all it did. When Creeper landed on a new computer, it would just print out this simple, taunting message. It was a proof of concept, a harmless little game. Now, think about that for a second and compare it to Gayfemboy taking over your smart home. The difference is just staggering. And of course, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. To deal with the Creeper, another programmer named Ray Tomlinson, who by the way is the guy who invented email, created a program he called Reaper. Reaper moved across the ARPANET just like Creeper did, but its whole job was to hunt Creeper down and delete it. And right there, that was it. The first worm and the first antivirus. The cybersecurity arms race had officially begun. But, that innocent age of curiosity in the 70s, well, it couldn't last. Once computers started showing up in people's homes in the 1980s, the motives for creating these programs started to get a whole lot darker. The 80s were a wild ride for this stuff. It started out kind of harmless. In '81, you had Elk Cloner on the Apple II, which was basically just a silly poem that popped up as a prank. But by 1986, things got more serious. The brain virus was using stealth tactics to hide itself. Then, they became destructive. The Vienna virus made computers reboot over and over, and the Jerusalem virus was a huge problem, deleting files every single Friday the 13th. The game was changing, and it was changing fast. And, unlike the stealthy stuff we see today, early malware creators wanted you to know they were there. They were loud and proud. They'd leave messages, almost like digital graffiti, to show off their skills, basically screaming, "I was here." It was all about exhibitionism and getting that taste of fame. But that desire for fame, for bragging rights, it was about to be replaced by a motivation that was way more powerful and a whole lot more dangerous. Cold, hard cash.
You can really chart the entire history of malware just by looking at why people made it. It starts with pure experimentation, like Creeper. Then it morphs into vandalism and just causing chaos, like the Jerusalem virus. But the real game changer was around 2003 with something called the Fizzer worm. It was one of the first viruses built for one reason and one reason only, to make money by turning infected PCs into spam-sending bots. And from there, it's a short hop to state-sponsored attacks, like the infamous Stuxnet worm that caused actual, physical damage to infrastructure.
So as the motives were changing, the technology of the internet was making it easier than ever to spread this stuff. The Morris worm back in '88 proved that even an experiment could accidentally bring down a huge chunk of the early internet. Then in the '90s, macroviruses showed up, spreading through a totally new vector, Microsoft Word documents. But the thing that truly opened the floodgates? Email. In 2000, the I love you worm used the simplest trick in the book, an attractive subject line, to fool millions of people, causing billions of dollars in damage in just a matter of days.
And this massive escalation brings us into the modern era. An era where malware isn't just a digital annoyance anymore. No, its consequences are now very, very real-world problems. I mean, just look at the explosion in the early 2000s. Code Red hit hundreds of thousands of servers. Worms after that, like Blaster and Conficker, hit millions of machines. And the consequences became terrifying. We're talking about real-world outages affecting ATM networks, shutting down 911 services, stopping trains, delaying flights, even taking down hospitals. This wasn't about deleting files anymore. This was about disrupting society itself.
So, this all brings us right back to where we started. When you see a modern threat like Gayfemboy, you're not just looking at a piece of code. You are looking at the direct descendant of this entire 50-year evolution, combining stealth, financial motives, and the massive scale of the internet.
The contrast, when you put it side by side, is just unbelievable. In 1971, Creeper was a curious experiment that targeted maybe a couple dozen computers, and its only impact was a simple little text message. Today, Gayfemboy targets millions of devices all over the world, not for curiosity but for control and profit, with the power to disrupt huge networks. It's the same basic idea, a program that spreads, but the scale, the intent, they are worlds apart.
So in just 5 decades, we've gone from a simple game of digital tag to a complex global battleground. And as our lives get more and more connected, with things like AI and quantum computing just around the corner, it really makes you wonder, what's next? What will the next 50 years of this arms race even look like?